Let's see. Okay. So, Mark in Michigan, I think.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
How are you guys doing?
Okay,
Good.
how are you?
Good. First time caller, but I've been watching your show for about a year, and your show is not the reason I'm an atheist, but you are the reason I'm a skeptic.
All right,
Okay.
great.
I was
take
one
that.
of those people that I actually was thinking about calling your show when I first started watching you to talk about the ancient aliens and explain why it's rational to believe in that. Luckily, I no longer think that's a rational position to hold because skepticism doesn't allow it. Even if the evidence was true, which it isn't, there's not enough evidence to conclude that that's likely.
Right. I mean,
But my question is-
Wait, let him go.
Well,
I'm sorry.
I mean, Carl Sagan wrote in his books, you know, he was a big proponent of looking for extraterrestrial life. But he said in his books that, like, people would always sort of accost him and say, you know, do you think there's real alien life out there? And bounce all their kooky theories off it. And he would be like, you know, look, I think that it's likely that there's aliens, but we haven't discovered them yet. And until we have evidence, you know, blah, blah, blah.
Yep. But my question actually relates to that is, why are people not wanting to look at the evidence? Because I have a friend of mine who essentially has even told me, don't even send me the evidence for evolution. I don't care. I know creationism is 100% true. And I'm wondering the mindset of that. How can somebody actually act like that?
Well, conspiracy theory is very much related to this. And, you know, we have a lot of people who, you know, want us to believe whatever pet conspiracy theory they have. And the thing about the conspiracy theory is that you can always chalk up the evidence to part of the evil, to coming from the evil powers who want to deceive you. And the allure of conspiracy theory, of course, is that, you know, you can feel like you've tapped into this special knowledge that, you know, is pervasive over the whole world, and yet everybody else is so dumb that they can't see it. And so now that you know about the lizard people or the Illuminati or the Bilderberg group, I just read a whole book on this stuff.
Or creationism.
Or creationism, yeah. You can be like, wow, my eyes are open now, and I'm way smarter than all the people who believe the mainstream theories, man.
Yeah.
So I mean, there is kind of a draw to that sort of thing because it's an ego boost. And also, you know, people are generally just reluctant to change their point of view, and so they look for any excuse not to look at contrary evidence.
Yeah, in a church like that where they're promoting creationism, science is horribly misrepresented and maligned and vilified. So the person has to get past a lot of prejudices regarding their concept of science before they would ever even be able to consider anything that comes out of a scientific field as reliable if it conflicts with their religion.
Right.
Well, one thing I've been trying to do, which has not yielded any success yet, is I've been trying to basically show my dad how the Bible is incorrect on every single scientific point it has. And my dad, like, the one that I came up with recently was the Bible says the earth is unmoving, and I'm saying the earth moved. And my dad said, oh, it means we can't physically move it. That's what it's talking about. It's not saying you can't move. It's just saying we can't move it.
I'm a huge proponent of telling people that if you are just taking the first stair step down the rabbit hole the minute you agree to argue the Bible with a believer.
Yeah.
It is so subjectively interpreted, and every one of them thinks no, it's clear, and it's exactly what I think it says, and they all think it says something different. But you go to talk to them about it, and it becomes a quagmire of you're not interpreting it right. So you just can't win that battle. It's few and far between where you're going to win a battle about content in the Bible with a believer who is just bent on thinking it can't be wrong.
I don't really think they think this sort of thing through, because, I mean, apparently they believe that people in biblical times were all walking around going, I could personally push the earth around. No, this book says you can't. Oh. darn.
Yeah, I just know that, they think it cannot be wrong. And so even if you were to show them something that was just flatly wrong, in their heads, the response would be, I'm not understanding it correctly. That's how they view it. So if you showed them something that absolutely was just like, could not be correct, in their heads, they would think, I can't understand it fully because, it's from the mind of God. And I'm just not reading it right. And if I had a better understanding, if I was a more mature Christian, then I would understand this. So yeah, I can't explain it right now, and I don't understand it right now, but I have faith that it's correct, and we're just not reading it right.
And
that is exactly
the
how they
real
think.
question is, why does God suck so much as an author? I mean, a good authorship relies on being able to effectively communicate difficult concepts clearly to your intended audience. Why isn't, with a guy who should be the best author in the history of the universe and knows everything that's going to happen in the future, why couldn't he just toss a couple verses in there like, by the way, there's going to come a time when you guys realize it's wrong to
me,
own
the
other people,
bigger question, though, is,
like
why should anybody believe that God had any hand in producing a book?
That's the main thing.
And if they would like to address that, you have to back that up. Because, I think they would probably agree that if God does not exist, then God did not have a hand in that book. So if there is no God, then the book exists and is attributable to some other causes. And that means that first and foremost, we have to demonstrate that the cause that they're asserting produced the book does in fact exist. So then it gets down to, where is your God? How do we examine it? How do we determine if it would in fact be capable of or interested in producing a book?
The problem with that is whenever I bring up that point, like my friend I was talking about earlier, he'll bring up the trees. You cannot explain the trees, so I win, my God exists. Christian God.
That's the
Mark,
argument from ignorance.
Yeah, that's going down a completely different topic. I recommend that you check out ironchariots.org, which is a wiki that Matt and I set up a few years ago, which is sort of a resource for all these ridiculous little off in the middle of nowhere arguments that Christians will throw at you.
Yeah.
I don't know what that page is called, but I know that it's in there. Just look at the trees.
Yeah.
If you search for that in Iron Chariots,
Well,
you'll probably
the
find
form of
something.
the argument is wrong. It's like saying God created trees, trees exist, therefore God. And I use all the time the same form to say, gremlins break watches, my watch is broken, therefore gremlins. It doesn't work. You can't prove what you can't insert your assumption and you can't assert your conclusion as part of your premise assumptions.
Okay.
I have nothing to say to that because I completely agree. I don't completely agree with you, but I agree with you so many times I can't think of a time I don't agree with you.
Yeah.
So
I would just use the gremlin argument, ask if they find it compelling.
All right, we're gonna move on.
Oh, sorry.
But thanks for calling, and do check out ironchariots.org.